We are back with MMA breakdowns and bets. As you guys know, I'm Santino DeFranco. Brandon Olivas is here. But first, Brandon, show us your shirt because it's the best shirt ever.
I got the Andrew
Who?
Santino shirt.
Andrew
Cheeto
Santino
Santino.
shirt. I think we're related. I mean, all white people are related anyway, but I mean, come on. We have the same name somewhere in there. We've got to be related somewhere. Maybe
I
not.
love him. I love the misdirects. I don't like things that are just right there, easy in front of you. I love the misdirects. He was really clever. So we had to get the shirt. Awesome show.
Where'd you
I could
see
have
him?
done
Here in
without the name,
Phoenix?
but yeah.
Could
Hey,
have done
by the
it.
way,
Too much Santino in your life.
I got to ask about your shirt. Did you just get back from a bowling league or from a trek like Indiana Jones?
Yes to both.
All right. Well, let's
There
go
we
on an
have it.
adventure. Let's get this card started.
So we've got, who's our main event? Islam Makhachev and Bobby Green. Before we get into the fights, you guys make sure you like the video. Do it because of course you like it. Subscribe to us because of course you want to hear more of us, and then check out our Patreon because you want to know our actual bets, and we're super awesome. So check out our Patreon. You can get all of our bets. You killed it this week on Bellator. This was a bad week. Not a bad week. I think we actually did pretty well bet-wise the previous week in terms of our bets and our picks. What killed us, not killed, but hurt us a little bit were the couple over and unders. We got the bets right for the most part, but we had some overs and unders that kind of threw off some shit.
Yeah, I
But
called
you,
Gloria DePaula easily. Called Gloria DePaula, and then I got Stephanie Egger. But the one that killed us was that over 1.5 in the Stephanie Egger fight. If you asked me a
yeah,
lock on the card, that's what I would have said.
I think that's what we said was our lock was, oh, I think, even on the podcast, I think we were split on Stephanie Egger and all this stuff, but our actual picks that we put on the Patreon were Stephanie Egger. Both you and I put Stephanie Egger there, but we both put, we absolutely love that fight over a round and a half, and Eggers throws her down and armbars her in like 2 minutes. And we're like, who in the hell saw that coming? There was another over under, I forget that kind of,
Parker
disrupted some
Porter not to
stuff.
go the distance.
Yeah. Wild. So, overall we did really well, but you did really well on the Bellator, and a couple of people from the Patreon said, I split my bets, I did okay, blah, 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 made it all back with Brandon's Bellator bets. So you guys, if you want Brandon's Bellator bets, LFA bets, CFFC bets, the regional stuff, and if you want all of our actual bets, check out the Patreon links below. It's $25 a month for all of our bets. People are charging $150 a card, and we're giving you guys this for $25 a month. So anyway, we're talking about this card a little bit before we got, actually, it's even funnier is we started to do the video and then we realized that, thank you to Brandon and YouTube notifications, is that we were recording YouTube live, which was not intended whatsoever. But before that, we were talking about this card. There's a lot of really good up and coming fighters on this card. There are like some future superstars here. It sucks we have a couple fights on this card. Co-Main, who've lost like 27 of their last 10 fights. I don't know how they're taking up the high billing on the card, but there's some good fights on this card. Besides betting, is there anything, even betting spot, or even just fights that you want to see? We'll get into the breakdowns in a second. Is there anything you're looking forward to on this card?
Well, first and foremost, to kick off the card, and maybe we can lead this in, but I have an opponent that is fighting on this card, and I fought to 29-28 with him when I was a 1-0 amateur, and he was a 15-1 amateur. So sometimes it pisses me off because I say, man, if I, stayed in the fire and kept at it, where could I be seeing that? So, I'm excited to see that one, see him perform. I always hope your opponents do well. And there's some great talent and great fights
Wait,
on
wait,
this
wait,
card.
wait,
I can't wait.
wait. You have to tell us the opponent's name. You can't just
We're gonna get
lead
to it in
with it.
the first one.
Well, I mean, why don't you just say
All
it?
right, so we got Carlos Hernandez on this card.
And he's the one that you fought in IMMAF or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I wasn't there for that, was I? That was with you
Yeah,
and
you were.
Sonny and
No, you know what's so funny is you've been there for all the times I got pulverized, and every fight that I've won in like a minute, you've always been out of town or always gone. Um, yeah, we went to a decision on that one, and yeah, you were there
Where
for
was it
that.
at?
It was at the what is it, Fort McDowell Casino. I think you just came for the last night or like right for the fight
I am certain I was not there for that. I am certain that
because
was
you
the one
saw
where you
Tracy
guys were in
there.
the no, you guys were in the hotel room and everything, right? That was when you guys stayed up there. I was not there for
Yeah,
that
I
fight.
thought you came for the last night because you saw Tracy there, Kevin Natividad, Will Starks, Benjamin Bennett. That was a star-studded lineup on that card.
For the record, I was not there. I did not watch it. I did not corner you because I was somewhere else. Because I remember you guys FaceTiming me, and you guys
Oh,
were
you're
all
right.
like super creepy in your bed in the room. So I was not there for that. But I mean, that honestly, that what we couldn't have a better segue into the fight. So without further ado, Carlos Hernandez, he's 7-1. He's fighting Victor Altamirano. Uh, Hernandez is kind of a tiny little bugger at 125. Actually, he's not. I mean, I guess they list
He's
him at
not. He's
5'8".
5'8".
I know. I don't
Yeah.
even know how that's possible because he looks so little in the fights that I see him. He looks so small. Lost his first pro fight, and first of all, he's got like 700 amateur fights. I mean, there's that.
He
And I
was a
think when you
one-time world champion and two-time national champion in the IMAF. He was their poster child right next to Shorty Torres. So he was the kid that they were definitely pushing, and he got my spot by
and
beating
I'm
me.
looking at his record right now. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He was 12-1 when he fought you, and you were 1-0. Oh,
Yeah,
man,
talk
you got
about bad
hosed.
matchups, right? I got a split decision. I had a fight with Mono, and then I had a fight with a 12-1 guy when I had one fight on my record.
Oh, man. But so we've got Carlos Hernandez, and he is fighting Altamirano. Um, Victor Altamirano. Both are contender series guys, right? Um,
Yes.
gosh, I'm looking, yeah, right now. Well, since this is your guy, kick it off. Let's hear what you have to say. Let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, and let me give you guys a complete unbiased version because I always want to look at this objectively, and I want you guys to be able to respect what I'm saying without feeling biased, and hopefully we've done that even with people that we know and don't know, whatever. Um, Victor Altamirano, LFA champion. Okay, he won on the Contender Series, and he was his fight was the only fight where they've ever given a contract to the loser also. And Dana said, I thought the loser won. I guess we can start with the good about Victor Altamirano. So first and foremost, he's a tough kid. Okay. You hear what we always say about tough. He's a tough kid. The second thing is he's got great cardio. The kid never gets tired. He can go for 5 rounds easy. Now let's get into the bad. The kid is horrible. I mean, he's horrible. He weirdly throws good kicks and good punches, but it's not because they're so technical and so perfectly executed and he throws them amazingly. A lot of it's because they're so awkward. It's like fighting somebody, a day one person, that comes into class. You don't even know what the hell they're doing. So you're going to get hit with stuff just because you're unfamiliar of the angles and the positions. It's just weird shit that he throws out there. Well, the upside to him striking is high volume. He's always throwing something. On the flip side, guys, we got Carlos Hernandez. And I will say this about Carlos. When we were preparing to fight him, I watched a lot of film on him. And in every single fight, he grappled. We went into that fight. He knew my grappling accolades. He didn't touch me one time. He sprawled and brawled the entire time. So one thing I will say about Carlos is his fight IQ is off the charts. Watch his Contender Series fight. The second his butt hit the mat, he was right back up and transitioning, getting up off his feet. The kid's fight IQ is phenomenal. Okay. I think his wrestling is really, really, really underrated. I think it's really good. And he's been kickboxing his entire life. The big fatal flaw that we see with Victor is every time he's taken down, he is a lot of times content to stay on his back. He refuses to get up. So for me, this fight is really, really simple. I do think Carlos is the better striker. I thought the kid that he fought on Contender Series, Perez is good, man. That kid's going to be in the UFC soon. That kid is good, and Carlos took it to him. Great competitive fight. I like the striking of Carlos. I don't think Carlos gets tired, which is usually what Victor banks on. I love the fight IQ. I love the wrestling, and I love the jiu-jitsu of Carlos. to me, this is an easy one, and you're getting, I mean, it's almost a pick 'em fight. To me, like to bet on Victor, you just have to hope that he's going to throw volume. It's the Gloria DePaula fight and Belbita from last week. You're banking on the worst fighter to throw more volume and hoping for a decision. I say pick the better fighter, better fight IQ, and good odds. That's all I got.
So, Hernandez, first of all, he fought Perez, however you say that. I thought he actually lost that fight. Not by a horrible margin by any means, but if I was scoring it, it was a very close fight. I thought he lost. And that's not a testament to Hernandez. That's a testament to just how good I thought Perez looked. I thought he was really, really good. Um,
That's a
I
tough
thought
dude. And
his
when you said Carlos is small, it's because you look at him fighting Perez and you're like, man, this kid
and
is
Perez
huge.
huge, but his strikes are good. They're powerful. His man, honestly, I think was it in the second round that he slipped, or gosh, what was it in the second round with Hernandez that he slipped and Hernandez got on top? There's some weird thing, like threw a kick, slipped, got on the bottom, and honestly, I think that's what cost him that fight. I think if he didn't slip or whatever it was in the second round, I forget how he ended up on the bottom. Maybe Hernandez caught a kick off balance and whatever. Anyway, capitalized. It was Perez screwing up, not Hernandez winning and doing awesome. Um, that said, like you said, Altamirano, I thought he lost that fight, but I thought he actually lost. And I thought that was a robbery. I thought that was a travesty of the judges. It was one of the worst, kind of decisions I've seen in a long time. So, sorry, I got like an eyelash or something in my eye. But
That's okay. And let me say this about Candelario, who he fought on there, because I know Candelario very, very well. That kid actually was really, really good coming up, fought on Contender before, took 4 years off, no fighting for 4 years. And when he came back, he almost lost to a 36-year-old that he had already beaten before because he has cardio problems. So, of course, Victor was supposed to win that third round. That kid took it on 2 weeks' notice. Like, he got dominated by a guy who got off the couch, 2 weeks notice, and just dominated him. Hadn't even been training for 4 years. So
yeah. And you look at so Hernandez, I mean, first of all, he kind of reminds me of Dominic Cruz. He not in his execution, but the way he moves left and right. He's always moving left, he's always moving right. He really takes angles to pull people in. He'll lean off to his left and then dart his right hand, and then he glides off to his right, darts his left hand. My knock on him is that, which is my knock on Dominic Cruz, is if they would set their feet a little bit more, some of the punches they land would be a little bit more effective. They would hurt a little bit more. His volume is good though. His wrestling's not great offensively, and defensively his wrestling I think has a lot to be desired. But like you said earlier, he pops up well. Yeah, I mean, I think a flea could probably take Hernandez down, but holy hell, it would take a boulder to keep him down. So he
it
pops up
took me
well.
2 rounds.
Yeah, exactly. Does a really good job on that. Um, the thing with Hernandez is, holy shit, he has some of the best cardio I have seen in a very, very, very long time. And on the other side of that, Altamirano, I don't think his cardio is very good. I think he's awkward. I think he shoulder rolls. I think he accepts a bottom position. I think I'm saying it right now, you guys. This is early in the card. This is early in the week. Of course, these aren't even our Patreon picks. It's going to be a Patreon pick. This is a
For both of
freebie, you
us.
guys. This is the single best spot on the card. The single best money-making spot on the card is betting Hernandez to win this fight. These two are almost a pick 'em. I think Hernandez right now
135.
is minus 135. That's almost even numbers. You guys, I cannot fathom the way Altamirano wins this fight. Hernandez is a great pick here. And at negative 135, it's free. It's free. Take this spot. Altamirano is not going to be in the UFC long. Um, Man, this is
Which
free
is
money
so
here.
crazy because he's an LFA champ. And, you go through his record. Hold on. Let's take a look at this. Victor Altamirano. So 10-1. Let's see. We look at his amateur record. He was 4-3 as an amateur. And then you got the first 3 fights were 0-0 guys, 1-1, 3-3. Then he finally beat João Camilo. That's a good one. lost to Jared Brooks, split decision, won a triangle choke. He beat a guy who was 10-10 as an amateur, and then he won that split decision against Candelario. Like there's a lot of like really close, tight things in there, like a lot of weird stuff, a lot of padding. And you look at Carlos Hernandez, who was on the IMAF circuit fighting the Dagestani Russians in in whatever country they were at. He's
Turkey
losing
or
to the top
whatever.
of the top. Yeah, he's losing to the top of the top guys like Muhammad Mokaev or whatever. That dude was 30-0 in the same division that Carlos fought in. So it's not like these are just random people. Even their 2-3 records is because those guys are losing to the other Russians on the national teams of those countries. So
Yeah.
guys, don't overthink this one.
And this is weird though, because Altamirano has only lost as a Jared Brooks, who's phenomenal, who is really, really, really good. I the thing is that you wanna know what it is? It's almost like jujitsu where you've got these guys who are phenomenal, we'll call them jujitsu players, submission guys, throwing armbar, triangles, just submitting people left and right, and they look amazing. And then you have the guys that are boring as shit, get the takedown and get the advantage, but they don't get submitted. And those are the guys who win world championships, are the boring guys who get a takedown, inch into half guard, maybe an inch into side control, and they win, 1-0, 0-0 advantage. Well, those are the guys in MMA who are doing well. You absolutely get some of these guys who are really good submission guys who just aren't good, jujitsu guys, control guys. Charles Oliveira. I mean, you look at him. I mean, he is, a phenomenal submission guy, but not doesn't have a ton of accolades in terms of like world championships, IBJJF. But the guys who win these championships are your Davy Ramoses. Guys are getting your Pablo. Uh,
You're setting this up really well for a fight in the future here. I like what you're doing. You're foreshadowing.
yes, yes. But anyway, and so you've got your Popoviches who get the takedown and are boring. And those are guys that win, but those are the guys that do well
That
in the
was a really
UFC.
old reference.
It was a
I
very
love
old
that.
reference, but you get it. The Popovich one, who's I don't know if he's ever submitted anybody, but he beats everybody 0-0 or 2-0, but he's not submitting people like flying armbars and triangles. And the Altamiranos are the flying armbar and triangle guys who look really good until they go against the top guys. And the guys in the UFC aren't getting flying armbar and triangled. They're the guys with better cardio and better wrestling who can dictate where the fight goes. So we spent a lot of time on this, but there was a lot to
This
be
one
said here.
deserved it though.
It
This one
deserved it.
deserved
It
it.
really
The
did.
odds are so close. This is a great spot, and I see like I try to stay away from stuff, but I went on Tapology and I'm like looking at everyone's predictions just for fun. I like to see what the public says, and I didn't even find one person that said Hernandez. Everybody said Altamirano because they're awed by the LFA championship. He won that LFA championship because Clayton Carpenter didn't fight for it and Christian Natividad didn't fight for it, and there's a lot of guys that weren't fighting for that title. He beat Ocon or whatever and got the title. Like, come on, you guys, don't overthink this one. It's Carlos Hernandez by a country mile.
Yeah. The other thing though is I actually, if you guys want to get nuts here, um, I think over 1.5 is actually a solid one here. And
I
we got
love
killed
that.
on the overs and unders because these guys are not finishers. And I,
Both
I
good
think our
cardio.
over
Both
is,
don't make mistakes. Yeah.
yep. So, all right. Well, let's move. We spent 7 years on the first fight. We've got Ramiz Brahimaj and Michael Gilmore. Um, Man, if the odds weren't, let me look up the odds really quickly because it took a while for Bovada to update these for some reason because Gilmore's the last minute, but we've got Ramiz at
Ramiz
minus
is a
350.
last minute.
Oh, is he? I thought, oh, yeah, you're right. You're
Nope.
right. You're right. You're
It's
right. Sorry.
Ramiz.
Yeah, Ramiz is. Um, that's what I meant. But they had Gilmore up here forever, and they were just finally putting Ramiz up here. But we've got Ramiz at minus 350, Gilmore at plus 265. If the odds were what Hernandez and Altamirano were, this might be the best pick of the night. Um, I think this is a clear one here. Ramiz's stand up is solid. It's clean. I think it's more technical than his comfort level of stand up at this point. Like I think he probably looks really good on the mitts, really good shadow boxing, really good on the bag, and okay sparring. Because I think I think he just needs more minutes sparring to get that comfort level of where he's at. I mean, he takes people down and he submits them. He takes them down really early, really well, punches them. They turn their back to get back up, and then he chokes them out. And then you have Gilmore, who the hell are we doing here, folks? I mean, Gilmore's a guy from The Ultimate Fighter. He must have had an amazing interview. What he does well is he times uppercuts well as people try and shoot on him. His stand-up's not bad. He's a power guy, but it's not amazing. He fires a good low kick. And honestly, the best thing that he does is fire uppercuts as people are coming in. He'll stop the initial shot out in the open when people shoot. But up if they push him against a cage, he's getting dragged down. If they chain wrestle, he's getting dragged down. Um, I can't see anything other than a first round submission by Ramiz here. Am I nuts or am I
No,
just
you're not nuts. And you know what? The only people that are nuts are the people that are making a case for Gilmore. And I could, hey, and it's a fight game. Anything can happen. You can come back and be like, "Hey, I told you, idiot." But come on, guys. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Let me say this to what you just said about him stopping shots in the open. He stopped shots in the open from Andre Petrosky, who in that fight demonstrated some of the best wrestling mixed with the worst wrestling I have ever seen in my life. Round one came out, beautiful double leg, got him down, dominated him. The second round, he was so tired. He stood there like a punching bag while Gilmore hit him a million times. And I kid you not, tried an ankle pick takedown from halfway across the cage, and Gilmore just stuck his arm out. He tried a ankle pick takedown without setting it up with punches and didn't hold a leg, didn't push a hip, nothing. He just tried to grab his leg and ankle pick him. That was the saddest attempt at a takedown I'd ever seen in my life was Petrosky, who can wrestle, which is so sad. It made me really fearful for his MMA wrestling, actually. On the other end, you look at Ramiz, who legitimately has like decent MMA wrestling, probably better than Petrosky. Open mat, I don't think so, but like in the cage, 1-2, dive in on a takedown, change angles, do anything to get on top, and then he's gonna pass your guard, punch you into oblivion. You turn your back, and it's a wrap. Guys, don't overthink this one. Gilmore has to take a flight back on Saturday night because his kids have soccer practice on Sunday morning. So, guys, come on.
you're right, man. I mean, Ramiz just went 3 rounds with Court.
Who's
He lost that
good?
fight. Yeah, he lost that fight, and we kinda knew he was. Uh, but man, Court is solid. Court can cage wrestle. Man, like, outside
And
of a
Court
Hail
doesn't
Mary
get tired either.
no. I'm actually shocked that the odds aren't minus 7,000.
700, yeah.
No, 7,000,000,000, 7,000,000, billion, trillion, like, I mean, minus 350 for this fight is a steal, even though minus 350 for any fight shouldn't be a steal. Um,
Somebody said this in the group. They're like, man, the line seems really wide here, minus 350. And I said it should be minus 5,000. And they just said,
yeah,
oh my God, what is wrong with you? Like, I'm just calling it like it is.
I am with you, man. I'm glad. And for you guys out there, you and I mean, for YouTubers, for internet, metaverse, world land, like you and I will talk sometimes about fights, what we think is going to happen ahead of time, especially if we haven't had time to watch film. We'll discuss. We've talked about nothing this time. So it's not like you and I are in cahoots talking about this. Like I had no idea what you were going to say. And I'm glad that you are saying exactly what I am saying and what I'm thinking, because I mean, I don't even see a route here for victory.
I mean, how does he
All right,
win? So Ramiz has a good chin. He's got, he's like, all right, let's move on.
we're done here. So we've got Alejandro Perez versus Jonathan Martinez, not to be consumed with Alex Perez. And that actually took me. I'm almost embarrassed to say it. You guys, we have a podcast. We do videos. We watch fight tapes. This is what I do for a living. This is my full-time job as I train fighters. And for the life of me, I did not know that Alex Perez and Alejandro Perez were different people until I started figuring out this fight. And the records are similar. I couldn't believe it, but sure enough, Alex Perez and Alejandro Perez are two different people. Brandon, why don't
You
you
know
tell
what's
us a
really
little bit?
funny about that though? Uh, Alejandro Perez fought like almost when we first started this podcast, and you and I both went on there and were like, he's a lock, like he's a lock on this card. About Alejandro Perez when he fought Johnny Eduardo. That was like the beginning of this podcast. So for you to say that now is hilarious because we're in his second cycle since we've been doing this show.
Well, there you have it, folks. That's where my memories at. Tell us about Perez. Tell us about Martinez.
All right. So I think Perez is actually solid everywhere. Pardon me. He was at AKA for a long time. I'm not sure if he's in Mexico now, but he's solid everywhere. He's got skills. He's fast. He can box well. He actually his wrestling to me was really impressive. For what you would think that it was. Like he's got skills everywhere. But at the end of the day, I had trouble coming up with a path to victory for him against Johnny Eduardo, who was 43 years old. I was like, man, what does he do that wins him rounds and wins him fights? Like, what is it? And I couldn't figure it out. And what's funny is that card I'm talking about, I actually cashed out a big bet that I had on him, and I bet it on Johnny Eduardo. What am I doing? A 43-year-old, like that was horrible. That was horrible. So he ended up winning the fight, but I just couldn't get there in my mind. So now we fast forward to this time, and I'm going to have to work hard just to get, Jonathan Martinez is out of your mouth because I know you love you some Jamar. Um, this is almost the same fight as the Johnny Eduardo fight, but Jonathan Martinez is 20 years younger than Johnny Eduardo. He's got great kicks at range. He's got good hands. He sees things really well. The southpaw look is something very different for Perez. It's just a much longer fight. And then he's got great takedown defense. So really, Jonathan Martinez can fight this fight at any range that he wants to. It's going to be up to him. And when you let him sit in his pace and his timing, he's just going to pick them apart with front kicks and with leg kicks and check hooks. I think this is a really easy one too. I think it's Jamar pretty handily here.
100%. I agree with you 100%. I even, my only question with this fight is, does he finish it or does it go to decision? I am leaning toward a decision. I'm sorry, geez, I'm not leaning toward a decision. I'm leaning toward a finish here. Alejandro Perez, his wrestling has gotten better. He was at AKA, like you said. Uh, AKA is not a camp that I can get behind anymore. I just don't know if there's anybody there doing anything. Javier Mendez is a phenomenal coach, but he's kind of really focusing on Islam Makhachev, the Dagestanis. He's traveling a lot with the Dagestanis. When he's there, he's with the Dagestanis. We saw Cain Velasquez as Gabriel Benitez's main corner, but main training partner as well. And this is a heavyweight, and he is Gabe Benitez's main training partner. I just don't know what they're doing up there. I don't know where Perez is training right now, but it should not be at AKA. He was with Caroline. Gosh, Caroline. I forget her name. She's wrestling prep. If you guys go out there and look at on Instagram, wrestling prep, Caroline somebody. She was an MIT um, uh, graduate. She's like this engineering, physics, structural, engineering major, really intelligent, made a lot of money. Now, what she does is she actually, I think it was her son or somebody was wrestling, son, nephew, and it didn't make sense to her the way that they were teaching wrestling because of physical biomechanics and engineering, structural stuff. So she got into wrestling. Anyway, long story short, she does a lot of really good stuff with wrestling. And she was up at AKA for a long time working with Perez. And his wrestling got a lot better working with her, working at AKA. The thing with Perez is he reaches. He has this weird, like, head moving stance, like his this really awkward stance that moves around quite a bit. He's a lot shorter, even at the weight class. He's a lot shorter. He'll throw jabs to the body, which acts as a level change, and then he tries to whip that overhand from the schoolyard. He whips that thing from China, from Mexico, and he whips it. But when he does, I don't know if it's because of poor um, training or if it's because he's so much shorter. But man, he throws his punches and he reaches for them quite a bit, which gets him off balance. And his chin pops up in the air as he does it. And I really, His wrestling's not bad, but it is not world beater-ish. And
It
I
looked
am
good against Stamen. At least his counter wrestling and his scrambles.
his counter wrestling looked good against Stamen. But his offensive wrestling, I think, is to be desired. I think Jonathan Martinez's wrestling defense is very good, and I think he gets up well, and I think he knows to get up. He knows not to stay on the bottom, and he's a southpaw. You said it earlier, his whole left side is very dominant. He's got a left teep kick, which is like a front kick for you guys that don't know Muay Thai. He's got a left roundhouse kick. He's got a left knee. He's got a left high kick, left inside low kick, and he knows how to use it. But the other thing that he does is he will feint and he throws this weird looping left. I don't know if you want to call it an overhand or a hook, kind of a mix between. And it catches people a lot on the backside of the ear. He hit Davey Grant with it, and Davey Grant is huge. I really like Martinez here. I like him in the spot. My, I guess the two things I want to know is one, does Martinez get the finish? And does
Does he
that
make weight?
chunky little fuck make weight? Exactly. Does he make weight? Because, man, he loves his food because he does not like to make weight.
How can he not make weight? He's an inch taller than I like to use myself as a gauge for all these people. He's an inch taller listed as I am, and honestly, kind of a similar frame to me. How can he not make weight at 135? It's becoming a lot.
Okay, so if you're going to say a similar frame, I need to know right now, are you calling yourself skinny fat?
Right now, yes. Right now,
Okay,
yes.
okay. As long as you're saying that, because he has got a little chunk. He's got a muffin top.
I've got fat abs. I got like a 4-pack that's just kind of fat.
Okay. All
So
right. As long as we're all
we're
in
right
agreement
there.
here. But
It's
no,
the
I
Mexican in
like
us.
Martinez, man. I like Martinez. I really like him as a fighter. Um, man, and I like him on the spot here.
Cool. All right, let's swing to the next one. We got my girl. We got Jin Frey and Hannah Goldy.
So let me talk a little bit about Hannah Goldy, and then I will let you talk about Jinyu Frey. Because for all of you girls out there wondering, Brandon is taken, but if he was going to have a hall pass, I think Jinyu Frey might just take all of his babies because I've never heard Brandon talk about another human, let alone a female, the way that he talks about Jinyu Frey. So Hannah Goldy, she was on the Contender Series. And first of all, just let me compare these two. They're both like a foot tall. They look like Legos. They're a foot tall, like they're these tiny little tall things. And like you just made like the widest Lego block the world has ever seen. They are both short, stocky, powerful, bodybuilder looking women. Um, I think they're both 5'3". I think Hannah might actually be listed as 5'4", and I think Jinyu might actually be listed at 5'3". Um, Tiny humans. Hannah Goldy kind of plays tag in her fights. She kind of moves. She throws her left high kick. She will throw her right low kick and a right high kick, and she kind of runs around and darts in and out. Peppers moves, a little bit square in her stance. Is not a great wrestler by any means, but she's strong. She actually won via armbar in her last fight against Emily Whitmire, which actually was shocking. I thought Emily Whitmire was going to win that based on just Hannah
Everything. She's
Goldie's,
so much better. Yeah.
yeah, everything. Um, I am not overly huge on Hannah Goldie. I think she's tough. I like her Instagram way more than I like her fighting abilities. Um, and she plays tag as a fighter. I think when it comes down to it, and there's really some fight going on, I think that Hannah Goldie is going to break. That said, I don't think she's ever been finished. She lost to Diana Belbitsa, and Miranda Granger, both by decision. Um, and even as an amateur, she only lost once by decision. That, in a nutshell, is Hannah Goldie. Now, if you need a minute, we'll give you a minute. Otherwise, take us into Jinyu Frey.
No, so those of you guys that know, the reason I was really big on Jin was was because she was actually like one of the first huge hits that I had. I found out a parlay that I was like, this is a parlay that I could sell to anybody. I could sell this parlay because I know with 100% fact it will hit. It was like Brian Moore, who's actually fighting this weekend, also Jinu Fry, like all these random people that were like dogs and like pick 'em fights. So I ended up making a lot of money. I should have made a lot more, but bet limits and Vegas and go watch our recap show if you guys want to hear that story. But anyways, back to the matter at hand. So the first thing I want to say about this fight is actually one of the reasons I like Jin. So first, she was an Invicta champion. Okay, a long time ago. Whatever. I don't really factor that in now, but she knows what it's like to win. Okay. The second thing I really like actually is her husband. I love her husband. We hear a lot of coaches, and everyone, we know a lot of the insides of things, and we know who really is a good coach and who's really not a good coach, and the people that get pumped up for no reason, and we know who's really doing the work behind the scenes. But when I'm listening to the fights and I can hear Jin's corner, it's her, I think it's her husband. I could be totally off on this. Everything that he says is is perfect. Like he's always giving her the perfect advice. Like the fight IQ is off the charts. He's always giving her the correct advice. And for that, I think is so valuable. I think he is such a good coach, somebody good to have in her corner. So I think she's at Fortis now, or at least training with a lot of the girls who are at Fortis. So she's getting good work. She's got good coaching. Physically, she's a tank. She's very strong. I just think at the end of the day, these two are basically the same build, same fighter. I just think Jin is so much sharper. I think her striking is cleaner. Just from a judge's perspective, she's going to be the one advancing, right? Hannah Goldie's going to be the one backpedaling and trying to counter off the breaks. I just think when you look at a decision, even low volume, Jin's going to have the octagon control. She's going to be stalking her. She's going to have the big heavy punches. She can wrestle better than Hannah Goldie, and her jiu-jitsu is leagues above Hannah Goldie's. So I think this is an easier one. Anything can happen in a women's MMA fight, but to me, it's going to be a Jinu Fry pretty clearly here.
Um, yeah. So the only thing I have to disagree with here is not even disagree. The only thing I really have to comment on or make note of is I feel like you sold this as a closer fight than it should be, and I think you tempered your love for Jinyu. Like Jinyu Frey is better everywhere. She should kill her. I mean, I don't think she's going to finish her because as tough as Jinyu Frey is, and as hard as she hits, and as aggressive as she is, she's not a good finisher. Hannah Goldie is not. She's pretty durable as well. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the time that we see Hannah Goldie finished. I don't know if I'm going to bet that just because women are weird, over and unders are weird. Weird shit can happen. Um, Jinyu Frey might be the meanest human the world has ever seen in the cage. She is,
I just watched a
besides
video. I just watched a video of her only knockout on her record. She may have killed, like, move over Sean Strickland. She may have killed this girl. It was horrible.
she is mean and she is aggressive and she throws off the break and she wants to hurt people in there. I love her fight IQ. She understands how to defend and how to throw. And even in the Loma fight, first of all, Loma beat her ass and she didn't flinch at all. She didn't waver. She kept coming. And eventually she started wrestling and finding her mark with the shots and stuff. It was a little too late, but she realized her path to victory was not striking with Loma, and she adjusted. I love Jin Frey here. I am not as big on her. I think you named your dog Jin, right? After Jin Frey, like your three dog. You named one
I
dog
just want a
Jin,
repost
the
from
other
her. I'll
one
be
you.
happy.
Yeah. um, you're big on Jin Frey. I mean, I like her. I think she's fine, but I'm not anywhere near as big. And I've got to go 100% on Jin Frey here. Again, the only question is I wouldn't be surprised if Jinyu finishes it. We haven't seen a lot of finishes with these two girls, but it would not surprise me to see Jinyu Frey get the finish here with Hannah Goldie.
I just want to defend myself. I'm not like crazy huge on her. I was crazy huge on her in a matchup against Ashley Yoder. That was an easy one. I think this is another one. I don't know why they keep giving her these like lower tier girls, but we're gonna keep eating it up for as long as we can. She's 36. We only got a few more in her.
Yeah. 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 And that's actually crazy that she's 36. I didn't really even realize she was that old till I was taping this one. And she's got a couple master's degrees, like physics,
What's
engineering.
the old saying? It's like Asians don't be Asian. Is that what
I'm
they say?
unfamiliar with I don't know that one, but I'm sure it's something like that. Um Man, well, not Asian, not Asian is Ferris Ziam and Terrence McKinney, who are next up on our list. Um, I, as a fan, might be most interested in this fight on the whole card. This might be the fight that I want. I really like a lot of other fights just as a fan as well, but kind of how do they play out with Tsarukyan and Alvarez.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. We'll
No,
get
no, no.
there.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying like that one interests me in terms of like I want to see it as a fan. I want to see it, but I want to see it in terms of like how the division plays out, who wins, who moves up in rankings as well. This fight, Terrence McKinney and Faris Ziam, I just want to see this fight. I don't care who wins. I don't care who loses. As a fan, I want to see this fight. I don't think it does anything for rankings any which way. I just want to see this fight. Ziam is a tall kickboxer. Um, I just have to say, they say he's a K1 kickboxer, yada, yada, yada. I mean, we have got to qualify this stuff. I mean, people are like, what? Yeah, he's K1 kickboxer, yada, yada. There are levels to K1 kickboxing, and K1 Max and K1 like Grand Prix heavyweight stuff is different than K1 European championships. That was who they have Slava on on one of the last cards. They're like, oh, he's a K1 champ. He was a K1 European amateur champ. All right, guys, like that's like me saying I'm an all-American wrestler and I went to an open national tournament and won 8th place. This does not mean I'm like a college all-American wrestler. There are levels
Guys,
to this.
Iliad Boulade, that's a K1 runner up. Amazing kickboxer. Slava, come on, guys. It's a way different. Way different.
Right? There are levels to this, okay? I mean, Ziam, he is a very good kickboxer. He's very tall. His wrestling is actually getting a lot better. His wrestling's getting better. His takedown defense is getting better. He's smart, but man, he glides in and out. Like, all right, so yes, he's not a K1 Max kickboxer, but he is a very adept kickboxer. What impresses me the most about him is he glides in and out, and he feints in and out. He sways, and you don't know, is he coming? Is he going? What is he doing? And as he does this, his distance is really good. His feints are really good, and he fires these low kicks that are really, really good. And gosh, he understands the fighting, MMA fighting, very well, especially coming as a kickboxer. He understands not to stay on the fence. In his first couple of fights, you see him, and he would get pushed against the fence and beat up and hung on. Who was it that he? Gosh,
Was
was
it
it
Malarkey?
Madge? No, it was Madge, who just held him against the fence, right? Was it? I believe it was Madge.
Hmm.
Um, Held him against the fence, hung on him, and after that, he understood, hey, don't be on the fence. Throw, circle away, stay in the center. Um, my only knock with Ziam is that he doesn't have a lot of finishes. He's not a finisher. He's not a guy who's just overwhelming people, starching them, stuff like that. Um, on the other side of this, we have Terrence McKinney, who was a very good high school wrestler, who was a decent junior college wrestler, um, and almost died. I think. Gosh, what was he? He was on like acid, LSD, and got like shot or stabbed or something wild and crazy or something nuts.
That's
But
just like a normal day at ASU. Is that where he went?
yeah, I think he's actually from Washington. But anyway, he is unbelievably dynamic and fast and wild. And that's actually what worries me here. He is such a good wrestler. One of the most impressive things I've ever seen from Terrence McKinney is a double leg from across the cage worst double leg I've ever seen. He shot arms outstretched, head to the mat, knees to the mat, and everything that you think of wrestling is wrong. But he shot, I forget even who it was, sprawled on him. And he turned the corner and limp armed and came up on top so fast and effortlessly. It was beautiful. And then afterwards, I realized, oh, that wasn't a bad shot. That was a setup to the circle in the limp arm. Holy hell, is he fast and really has some really good wrestling. Now, that said, he gets put on his back because he's so wild that he'll do these horrible shots and just get hipped into and put on his back. He will throw these wild, fast, crazy, dynamic kicks and punches that when he misses, he falls over and trips and ends up on his back or he ends up getting countered. I think his fights overall total are like 3 seconds. Like all of his fights, like all of his 5,000
1
fights are like
minute.
3 seconds total. Yeah, it is nuts. So this is a hard one for me to read because I think Terrence comes out and just goes wild, but I actually think Ziam's just clean, 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 technical striking in and out, his jab, his movement. I honestly think that Ziam is going to win this, and I think I'm crazy for this because I keep trying to find a way that Terrence wins it. I'm like, look, he's faster, he's more dynamic, he's amazing. Um, but honestly, McKinney does everything wrong and he wins, and Ziam does everything right. And it's hard for me to pick against the guy that does everything right at this level. It's hard for me to pick just the athletic, dynamic guy who starches people because he's athletic and dynamic. It's hard for me to pick that guy at this level against a guy that does everything really, really well. Um, what's your thought on this? Do you think I'm retarded over here?
No, no. I mean, we actually we talked about this one before it got canceled the last time, and I think we both picked McKinney. I think you got me on McKinney, and that was one I didn't really care what I said because I wasn't going to bet it. And actually, as I was sitting here, I was like, man, I'm thinking the same thing as you. Is like, how's McKinney going to do this? If I look at my own personal betting Bible, right? I hate guys that all have all first round finishes, right? It doesn't give us a catalog. We don't know how they fight in the second and the third round, how they go to decision, how do they win rounds, how do they fight this type of person or that type of person, right? Because if you have 17 seconds of tape, who the hell knows how you fight? I agree with you. I think we said this a lot last week. It's really hard to bet on somebody hoping that they can land that one punch. Whereas you don't think they're going to win any other second of the fight, but you hope they land that one punch. Say what you want about the Malarkey win, but Ziam beat Malarkey. That's an insane win, and it's aging like fine wine. I mean, Malarkey's got power. He can wrestle his ass off. Like Malarkey is one of the better guys in the UFC, and Ziam was right there with him, right? Enough to where judges said, "Hey, you won this fight." His jab is crisp. His leg kicks are crisp. This line really wouldn't be that close if that third round with Vendramini didn't happen, right? He comes out, he gets
Hmm.
blitzed, and he's on wobbly legs because now everyone goes, "Oh, McKinney's going to catch him. McKinney's going to catch him." Okay, I think I think I called this with the Buckley and Al Hassan fight last week. It was a way big overcorrection from what happened in the last fights. Like people went way too nuts about that and not enough about this and whatever. I think that's this spot this week. I think Ziam's going to get it. I think he's the sharper, cleaner kickboxer. His counter wrestling's good, and as good as McKinney is, he's so dynamic and explosive. I don't think he can do that for 3 straight rounds, and I know that Ziam can.
I'm with you. Ziam has gotten better. He's actually gotten bigger too. He looks like he's been lifting his legs. His first fight in the UFC, he had these tiny little stick twigs of legs.
Gregory Rodriguez has been sharing his supplements.
Yes. He's a Sanford guy now, right, Ziam?
Yeah, that's why I said that.
Yeah. I figured as much, but that's what kind of I was like, oh yeah, I think so. Um, but even before that, he was in, gosh, Bulgaria or somewhere working on his wrestling for a while. And you see that in the first fight in the UFC and then his second and third fight. He's a better wrestler. He's smarter. He knows to stay off the cage. What I actually don't worry about with McKinney so much as landing a strike early. I actually worry about a very fast, dynamic shot into a limp arm, into a quick rear naked choke, something like that. Um, if you're really big on McKinney and you think that he's going to win, or you just don't know how to bet this, bet the under. Terrence McKinney has never gone the distance. I think he's only had one or two fights make it into the second round, and I don't know if he's made it into the third round. Win or lose, this fight is not going to the distance, and I think that is an easy bet. But I like Ziam here for the win.
All right, let's hit the next one.
Ah, shit.
Next up, we got
One of a
fight of
few
the night.
fights no, man, like, all right, kick this off because this one annoys me.
All right, so we got. Oh, sorry, hold on, I have my earphone out. All right, next up we got Josiane Nunes versus Ramona Pascual. Now, I do want this on my tombstone when I die. I did bet Ramona Pascual as a minus 700 favorite, and I'm going to let that
Where
sink in.
right now?
No, no. To start the year on Invicta, right? That was the first card we were all kind of jonesing for. She got a late minute replacement. She was actually supposed to have kind of a tougher fight, which would have been good because we would have seen a little bit more film, a little bit more stuff from her. She beat the worst fighter I have ever seen in my entire life, who also had a record of 2-0. So don't get that confused. That girl was atrocious. She's the worst I've ever seen. Um, this is such a horrible fight. I hate this fight. I hate everything about this fight. Josiane Nunes is god awful. She is so freaking bad. Uh, how often is it that you see? Let me see. How often is it that you see the person that didn't get their fight canceled move up a weight class for the late replacement, like up an entire weight class? That's crazy. She's tiny. She's 5'2", fighting 145 pounds. She got these little shriveled up shoulders. Now, the thing that I do like is she throws high volume and she hurts girls. She has actually beat good girls. Like Diani Barbosa was a good girl that she beat, but she also lost the fight for 2 rounds before she finally got on top and won that fight. She doesn't get up off her back. She has cardio problems. She doesn't think about any strike before she throws it. She just kind of closes her eyes and starts swinging. So man, everything in me wants to take Pascual. Pascual, from what I've seen, good knees in the clinch. She's huge. She's 5'7" and she's thick. Like she had trouble making 150 last time. We'll see if she even makes weight for this fight. Everything in me wants to take Pascual, and I just, for some reason, I can't do it. She's at Syndicate, which I don't love, and she swings so wide. The one thing about Nunes at the very least is everything is straight down the center. It's hard, it's with aggression, and she puts volume. She's going to put two or three shots behind it. And Pascual's defense is not good. Rarely is she car crashing? Is she catching punches? Is she slipping punches when the distance is engaging? On the outside, she does everything that looks right. She's feinting, she's doing pulls, she's doing all kinds of great stuff. But when the actual fight gets close, her chin is so far up there, and Nunes at the very least high and tight, and she swings. What I would tell everybody on this one, guys, I would stay so far away from this because as much as I'm building up Nunes now, she could get taken down and just bullied for 3 rounds. She could get finished. Like this is such an embarrassing fight. I hate this fight. But
I'm
Nunes,
glad
I
you
guess.
said I'm glad you said what you said because this is an embarrassing fight to the UFC. Nunez is only in there because the hot, pretty girl, tall, Swedish. Wait, sorry, I got in a moment. B Malecki I don't even know who she was supposed to fight. So they brought Nunez in, a 5'2" hobbit who was supposed to get murdered against Malecki, who is I mean, Malecki's got to be 5'9", 5'10". Uh, I remember a while ago when Camuela and I were doing our podcast, and we had a best of and all of this stuff. I may have said that I thought B Malecki was the hottest girl in the UFC. Besides that, I think the UFC brass probably thought that as well. And they brought Nunes in to just get beat up by the giant Malecki last minute to make her look good. And the thing is, and this is the issue, is they forgot to tell Nunes that she was supposed to lose. And Nunes went in there and knocked Malecki out with, I think, 1 second left in the first round. And now all of a sudden you're stuck with a 5-2 horrible girl at, like, I mean, what do you do with her? What the hell is going on here? So then you have Nunes, who's a girl that brought in to lose, to get beat up by somebody who won. I don't even know who she was supposed to fight for this card. It doesn't matter, but she was probably going to lose that. That girl fell off. So now you have Pascual in there. So you have two people the UFC brought in to lose who should never be in the show, who are in the show fighting each other at a weight class above. What in the shit is going on here? Like you said, Nunes should win this fight, but Pascual, and you put it very elegantly. You said Pascual could find her way on top, get a takedown, end up winning. No. What you meant to say was Pascual could fat on her, and then Nunes can't get up, and now who knows what the hell is going to happen. Nunes is the better fighter, but she's
Is
3 feet
she?
marginally, but she's
Oof.
3 feet shorter and 3 weight classes under Pascual. And these two are going to fight in the premier organization. I mean, this is honestly, it's a bit of a travesty. And I don't say that for anything other than skill. Like, I'm not being misogynistic. I'm not saying, oh, because they're women, because this, or because
They're
they're
just
fat, or
bad. They're
this, or
just
oh,
horrible.
they're
Yeah.
just bad. They don't have the skill level that some really good. We have a girl, um, we have multiple girls at our gym, but we have Lindsay Van Zant. She's at Fight Ready. She's phenomenal, but she doesn't get a chance to fight in the UFC because she's a 105-pounder. And these girls are in the UFC, and they shouldn't be in the UFC because they just happen to be in the right weight classes. And that is my issue here. It has nothing to do with gender, has nothing to do with weight, has nothing to do with looks, has nothing to do with anything except for skill set. And these two humans are not as skilled as so many other people who are, I believe, are more deserving for a fight. I think you're right. Stay away from this. Don't touch it. I mean, both of them could slip on banana peels on their way up to the cage and have a double knockout.
All right. Well, let's get to something a little bit better then. So next up, we got Rongzhu and Ignacio Bahamondes.
Um, I love this fight and I hate this fight, and then I love it again and I hate it again. um, Man, Bahamondes is a guy, and he's out of the same gym as Carlos Hernandez.
Yep.
Um,
VFS. Same
yep,
as
been there for.
Nunes and same, I'm sorry, as Jessica Pena and Bilal Muhammad and Yair. That's a good gym.
Yep, it is really a good gym. Um, Bahamondes is tough. He is, and we've said this before. Like, do you want to be called tough? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Man, he switches stances. He has volume. He's got straight ones and twos down the middle, low kicks and high kicks from both stances. He does most of the stuff well, and he's got cardio for days. What he doesn't have is any sort of semblance, anything, any concept of defense whatsoever. And this dude just throws. And I love it from a fan perspective, but man, I wonder about his chin and I wonder about him getting touched. I'm pulling up his stuff now. Okay. So his last fight was Roosevelt Roberts. He picked Roberts apart. And honestly, what I thought was most impressive is Roberts is tall, Ignacio is tall. He ripped his body, jabs and crosses, and not like ripping hooks, like those big uppercuts, those hooks to the livers plural, geez, singular. But those shots that we tend to see for those ripping body shots. He was jabbing and crossing that body for 2.5 rounds. until he found the finish. But he dominated that fight. It was a very good performance. I thought Roosevelt Roberts was probably going to win that. Um, going into it, his fight on the Contender Series was Edson Gomez, who was a late replacement, and I actually was very critical of Ignacio during that fight because I believe that was when Luis Saldana fought. Saldana fought, he won. We're in the back, and then we're watching these two, Ignacio and whatever the hell, Gomez, whatever. Yeah, Edson Gomez. Gomez was last minute replacement. They fought at um 170, and Gomez just looked bad. But I thought Ignacio looked really sloppy in that fight. I was not impressed. He got the finish, whatever. Um, and then against McDessie, he looked okay until he dealt with power. And that's what I worry about with this fight against Rongzhu is the power. Because Zhu is actually really good. He's got pretty good wrestling. We saw him out wrestle Brandon Jenkins, who was the last minute replacement. Um, so he beat Jenkins up the way that he should have. He finished him. Jenkins, again, he's the last minute replacement, but he outstruck him, dropped him a few times, out wrestled him, finished him. In his debut, I don't know if it was because it was a crowd or because it was his UFC debut, but he gassed quite a bit, but he did not do that against Jenkins. My worry about this fight is Ignacio, just like Hernandez, has a gas tank for freaking days. I don't know what the hell they're doing at the gym for cardio, but holy shit, is it good. Wrong, I think honestly has probably the cleaner striking. I think he has a better wrestling. I think he has a better fight IQ. And as I was watching tape for Ignacio, I was thinking, man, this guy's really good, but holy shit, if he fights a guy who can actually punch hard, he's going to be in trouble. And then you have Wrong, who can punch hard and is throwing hard at the end. I think I always go cardio first. I honestly think I have to go against the cardio staple here, and I'm thinking that Wrong is going to win this, and I think it's going to be the technical striking, but his ability to hit Ignacio hard and hurt him, and I think we're going to see a similar fight to the McDessie fight.
Man, I totally agree with you. I was at the Jacksonville fight when they brought in all those Chinese fighters to make their debut, and Wrong let me down. I mean, I had thousands of dollars on him. My buddy UFC Shark, I convinced him. I was like, look, listen, this kid is the truth. Here's the tape. Check it out. This kid is good. He's the best prospect out of there. And he got smoked by a guy he should not have lost to on any planet. That was his feeder fight. The UFC did everything they could. Then he comes back against Brandon Jenkins, who, please, he is not a world beater. Brandon Jenkins is not a world beater. That is another tee up fight. Here you go, Wrong. But his punching looked legitimately excellent. Like tight, beautiful punches. Man, he looks so freaking clean. He did all the right things. There's only two things that worry me here. One, I think that Bahamondes, I think he gets a bad rap. I think part of his style is I'm going to overwhelm you with so much offense. That is my defense. And at the end of the day, it is a fight. You're going to get hit. That is just part of the fight game. He dominated every second of that Roosevelt Roberts fight. Roosevelt was like, what is he going to hit me with next? Because he was mixing levels. He was slipping. He was feinting. He was doing such beautiful work and he got hit. That's just part of the game. It's what happens. But he had Roosevelt spinning literally even at the end. I have all the same concerns as you do. Is when he fights a puncher, somebody who's going to car crash him, who's going to meet him in the middle when he's advancing, who's not going to run the entire time. Because if he can put you on the back foot, now you're in his world. He's going to use that length. He's got a nice tight, high guard. Like he's a clean striker. He's good, man. I think Bauman is really impressive. But Zhu's hands are so fast and his boxing is so clean. If he meets him in the middle, I really worry for Ignacio. I'm with it. I'm with you on the same one. Usually I go cardio, fight IQ. I think he's got good fight IQ, especially being like with Bilal. But what I would say, guys, I'm not going to take any action in this fight. I'm going to sit back and just enjoy this one. I advise you to as well. If I had to lean, I might lean Zoo. The only thing that worries me is he's only 21 years old, so he's very, very young. Even though he's got a lot of fight experience, his lack of fight IQ in his debut fight was really concerning, where he was taunting even though he was down 3 rounds, right, and not going for the finish. Um, just the fight IQ, the size difference, and the cardio, I guess, is my concerns. And weirdly, I still like Rongzhu here.
I'm with you. My issue is the cardio. And I don't know if Wrong has cardio issues. Like I said, it was his first fight in the UFC. There was a crowd. It was first crowd back. Your first fight with a crowd back in a long time. He gasped, but it wasn't like the worst gas you've ever seen. It was. I mean, it was. He definitely faded. He definitely gasped, but it wasn't the
I think it
worst.
was an adrenaline dump.
That's what I think. Since then, I don't know if we've seen that, but Ignacio again, I like him. I really like Ignacio. I like his striking, but man, his disregard for getting hit is worrisome. And you cannot do that against a power puncher. I mean, it is. It's nuts. He just gets hit too much by so much stuff. Um, I am probably I may avoid this, and the reason I say I may is that I am leaning. What just so you guys know, I try not to look at the odds of the fights until I tape and I decide who is going to win. And I was looking at the two of these people, and like I said earlier, I'm looking at Ignacio going, is he's going to do well unless he fights a power puncher who can keep going. And then you have Rongzhu, who has good fight IQ, good wrestling, good power. I mean, all the right stuff. Who just doesn't have quite as good as cardio. And I'm going, man, I think Rongzhu wins this. So then I go and look at the odds, and I was shocked to see Rongzhu was a plus 185 dog. If you guys want a dog, this is not a bad dog to take. I don't know if I'm going to bet it yet. I'm going to watch more tape. I'm going to research a little bit more. You Patreoners, I'll let you know what I'm thinking. But there's a few fights on this card that remind me of this, that are these kind of odds. Um, I think I like Wrong here for the win. I don't know if he's getting my money yet, though.
All right. Now, next up, we have a really, really good one. Next up, we have Gregory Rodrigues and Armin Petrosyan.
Um, and honestly, the co-main and the co-main, whatever. The next few fights have way more lopsided odds than I would expect. Um, this next one, let me see. I'm pulling it up now. We've got Gregory Rodrigues is minus 165 and Armin Petrosyan is plus 135. Honestly, I think if you bet either of them, it's decent. I can't figure this one out. Gregory Rodrigues, his striking is getting immensely better. He's really good at jiu-jitsu. His wrestling is okay. Petrosyan is a kickboxer by trade. His wrestling is okay, getting better, and his jiu-jitsu is defensive at best. Rodrigues does not really use jiu-jitsu at all. I mean, at this point, Rodrigues is a striker. I mean, he's a striker in MMA. Thing that worries me about Rodrigues is I feel like his comfort level striking is slightly above his technical ability striking, and I think he gets clipped too much, and that's what worries me. I think that he could probably win this by wrestling and grabbing and taking the fight to the ground, and I think he's going to trade way too much, and I don't know why. I feel like he's chinny. He's not overly old. He doesn't get knocked out. I feel like he gets hit too much, and it worries me when he gets hit. Um, on the other side of that, we have Arman, and he's a good kickboxer, not a world beater kickboxer. His wrestling is okay. It's not phenomenal, but I feel like he fights smart, and I think he knows what he's good at. And I think if you want, and I think he's a 205er coming down to 185, so he's going to fight guys a
He
little
was
bit.
up at 205, not he was just moving up just for whatever, just get the opportunity.
Nobody fought a couple fights ago at 205 as well. So he has toggled back and forth between 205ers. He fought, his loss was at 205. Um, gosh,
Wow, you're right. Hassan Yousefi.
yes, that was at 205.
Wow, actually
Um,
his last 3 fights.
yeah, so he's a 205er going down to 185. I think he's a natural 185er who has been fighting at 205. So I think he's going to
Yep.
look better against Rodrigues. Um, I am so torn with this fight. I think Rodrigues is fast. I think he's technical. I think his wrestling is decent. I think his jiu-jitsu is good. And I cannot not everything in my soul tells me Rodrigues should win this. And I am worried about betting Rodrigues. And I don't know if I'm going to touch this. And if I had to lean, I would say that Armin is probably, if you gun in my head, I'm picking Armin. And I couldn't tell you why. But Petrosyn doesn't scare me as much as Rodrigues scares me.
I totally agree with you. And you know what? Actually, coming into this week, right? I was so excited. When I saw this matchup announced, I was like, all right, this is my 30K bet. I'm going all in on Armin because what we saw in the Contender Series was very impressive. Man, that was impressive. Like, wow. Um, but then I thought about it. Okay, so here's the deal with Gregory. Gregory is an IBJJF purple belt world champion. That is notoriously the hardest one to win, other than black belt, right? Because it's just the best guys. But purple belt level is the hardest one to win. You got so much testosterone, so much steroids, so much everything. The biggest divisions, the most people, the most matches. Like that is the hardest division to win, and he won it. Now, I did talk about this in the last fight when he fought Park. His MMA jiu-jitsu is horrible. How are you that good at jiu-jitsu? You win that, and you have the worst MMA jiu-jitsu, right? And I gave an example the last time we broke him down, where he was like, I think he was fighting in Asia somewhere, and he full mounted this guy, this little tiny dude, full mounted him, and then decided to swing for an armbar. Ended up getting elbowed in the face while he, fell on bottom. Like just horrible decision making. Now, fast forward a few years, times have changed. Okay. I hope he's better. But then we watched the Park fight and he got Park's back 2 times. Have you ever seen anything like this in your life, right? Locked in a body triangle and Park just leans forward, grabs his ankle, lifts it, and stands straight up. What jiu-jitsu guy in the history of history is going to let somebody just lean forward, grab their leg, and then just stand straight up? It never happens. So for a good jiu-jitsu guy, I couldn't be less impressed with Gregory's jiu-jitsu. And I have to disagree with you on the fast thing. I don't think he's fast. I think he's aggressive, and I think people are intimidated by him, and that gives him the illusion of being fast. But if you watched Park was hurting him a lot, and Park's a small guy. He must be my size. Um, Park had him backed up, had him rocked, had him hurt. He was landing first every time. He was kind of winning the grappling exchanges. Like, what a bizarre fight. And man, he was lucky to get that win because if that went another round, just a coin flip on who gets that one. They're both gassed. So the hesitation that I have is every single Armin fight. He is pushed against the fence. He's taken down for a split second, and he's basically spending a round and a half trying to work his way back up. And this is every single fight. And then eventually he'll break loose, and then the striking opens up. The person is tired by that time, and then he puts him to sleep. So I could see the exact same thing happening here as Gregory tries to take him down, thinking it's the smart thing to do, gasses his arms, and then Armin breaks loose and puts him to sleep. Or Gregory grabs a hold of him, takes his back, and puts him to sleep. Like, I'm so with you. I'm so on the fence about this fight. I think that Gregory's wrestling is not as good as almost any of Armin's previous opponents, but his jiu-jitsu is better. And that's a different look. It's a different beast. Gregory has at least adequate, like decent, good striking. He's powerful. He's clean. He's technical. For me, I think it's a great idea to go with the dog. I think it's a dog or pass, just like you said. It's take Armin or you sit this fight out. But I'm going to take the cardio, the fight IQ, and who knows? Maybe he can't get bullied like that at 185. Maybe that was a 205 thing, and he's just being outsized. I really like Armin here. He's at ATT. Now I'll give you guys an inside scoop. I have I have one of the a friend who's one of the best black belts in the world, who is with Armins, both Armins, and has trained with Gregory Rodrigues. And let's say he's very confident in Armin. That's what I'll say about that. He's trained with Gregory and he's trained with Armin. He likes Armin a lot.
I like Armin a lot here. The only worry actually is Armin's loss. No, it's
Oh,
at
bad.
205. Yes. And it was just two dudes, two big ass dudes swinging at each other and somebody got knocked out. And I could see that happening here. Two big ass dudes swinging and somebody gets knocked out. And at that point, it's a coin flip. And I don't like coin flips with anything. I
Not
want
for
to
big
know
money. Yeah.
no. So if you guys are going to do this, yeah, you bet small. If you're going to throw them in a parlay, 2-3 man parlay, don't bet big. I like Armin here, but I don't know that I'm going to bet big on it because I don't trust it.
All right. I think next up's the good one. You wanna introduce this one?
Oh, Jesus Christo. Um, we've got Armin Tsarukyan and Joel Alvarez. I freaking love this fight. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. I love it. I love it. If I could spend the next hour just saying I love it, I would spend the next hour saying I love it. Um, you have Joel Alvarez. Gosh, what he is 19-2. He lost his UFC debut by decision, and then he has won 4 straight. And he has looked amazing in 4 straight. But even in his loss, he lost to Demir Jesus Christ, Ismagulov. Try saying that one time fast. Um, he just didn't look like he fought. He was just there. He didn't look bad. He was just kind of there, hanging out. I don't know if his UFC jitters or what, but he didn't look horrible. He just looked like he showed up at a, you know, expecting some food and he was in a fight. He just wasn't like he got beat up and thrown around and just mauled. And it was just like, what are you doing? What's going on? I was not overly impressed with him. And then you watch his other fights. Joe Duffy, Danilo Bugliardo, Alexander Yokovaev, and more recently and most importantly, Thiago Moses. Um, this dude just looks amazing. I mean, he's tall, he's huge. His striking is really, really solid. Clean, good, solid kickboxing, great fight IQ, good elbows. Wrestling is non-existent, and his guillotine and his submission game is solid. Well, you don't think he has great elbows?
I'm still so no. I'm sorry. I'm still back on the fight IQ. But go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, his fight IQ is solid. He knows to strike, and when people shoot, he attacks submissions like crazy. Um, he gets them all. So far in the UFC, he's gotten them all. People shoot and they get guillotined. His jiu-jitsu is good. He knows how he's going to win. His cardio is good. I mean, honestly, he does really good stuff that you want to see in a fighter, and he's freaking huge. And then you have Tsarukyan, who's 5'7", 5'8", tiny, um, and you know his only loss really is I think wait, he has 2 losses, right? Am I crazy there? Or just the Islam one? He's got 2 losses, one very early in his career, and then the Islam one. Um, the Islam loss is he got big brothered. Islam is a freaking unbelievable wrestler. He is one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen in MMA. All the Olympians, all the NCAA D1 wrestlers, I don't give a shit. Islam is one of the best wrestlers I've seen in MMA, and the techniques he uses are amazing. Foot sweeps. He gets a single leg instead of running to a double leg. He chops the neck. I mean, we saw it with Drew Dober. His wrestling is unbelievable. Tsarukyan took him down, defended stuff, turned him, got his back. Holy shit. Tsarukyan is good. Um, I think Islam is just a better version of Tsarukyan with a little bit,
A bigger, better version, bigger
yes,
frame.
slightly bigger, just a little bit better. Tsarukyan, it's hard to tell with this 5'7" frame and where he's at. You almost wonder, like, can that dude make 45? Like, I don't know that he could, but man, if he could, he would be a freaking world champion. Um, I, I really, man, Alvarez really worries me. In the sense that Tsarukyan is not a finisher. Great wrestler, great striker, not a great finisher. You give a guy like Alvarez 3 rounds to submit you or knee you in the face, man, life gets really hard. But Tsarukyan moves a lot. His wrestling is phenomenal. You see people getting guillotined by him when they shoot. I could see Tsarukyan getting a foot sweep or getting a body lock, and then that takes care of that guillotine. I hate that these two people are fighting at this level. I want to see them fight another 5 fights and then fight for a freaking title or a title contender. I really think both these guys have a very, very, very big upside. I think Tsarukyan wins this, and I think it comes down to the grappling department. Alvarez's wrestling is not great. His submission game is great, but I think Tsarukyan is, I mean, Davian Ramos is throwing every submission in the book at him, not getting close. He's taken Islam down. I don't think he's going to fall into a guillotine, and I think he moves laterally well enough to where I don't think he's going to be able to plant and fire strikes at him. Give me your take. Give me your thoughts.
Okay, guys, this is going to be long-winded. This is going to be long-winded. Jesus, this is going to be long-winded. I think this is the biggest lock on the entire card, and I don't even think that this is a close fight, even a little bit. Let me say this. Joel Alvarez has a godlike frame. The same reason that I'm mad at Johnny Walker for wasting that 6'6", just shredded, as athletic as it comes, and he can't win a fight and has no chin. It makes me so mad because I wish I was that. This guy's 6'3". He has done everything that he can. He finishes every single fight. I don't think he's as good as people think that he is. I think everyone going Joel Alvarez running a little pump and dump scheme here. Let's take a look. All right. So he lost to Damir Ismagulov, who didn't even wrestle at all in that fight. Gave him a complete stand-up fight. So that's two guys that are 6'3" in a straight kickboxing match. And he lost to a guy that primarily just 1-2s you to death. Okay? That's a tough fight. Very, very tough fight. And he lost. Now we move on to the next one, to Danilo Bellardo, who is no longer in the UFC. I didn't know he existed before today. Danilo took him down, won the first round, got out of all his little stupid guillotines and stuff like that. And then the second round, Bellardo was just so gassed, just straight up fell into the armbar, and it was embarrassing. And Bellardo's no longer in the UFC. Okay. His next fight, Joe Duffy. Joe Duffy was over the hill at that point. He was already on his way out. And what did he catch him with? A guillotine. No, I think Duffy's good. I think Duffy's good. I think Duffy's fine. I think he's good. But Duffy had moments in that fight. Good leg kicks. He was catching him with a few things, and then he got caught in the guillotine. The thing that really bothers me about Joel Alvarez is when you say fight IQ, what I think that means is a body of work for 3 rounds, being prepared to fight and fight hard for 3 straight rounds. And when I see him going for these guillotines, listen, we know when we have it and when we don't have it. And he is selling out so freaking hard on guillotines. And I think in the Bellardo fight, Bellardo popped out a few times and he was still selling out so freaking hard on those. Listen, my buddy, who is a brown belt world champion, one of the top black belts in the entire world, I said, and honestly, he's built just like Alvarez. I said, how's Armin to submit? Said that dude cannot be submitted. Like, it is impossible to submit that guy. He is so freaking solid. Nobody on earth is going to submit that guy. And everyone wants to talk about the size. The size really doesn't matter if Alvarez is going to be on his back. And truthfully, the wind blows and that dude is on his back. He thinks his jiu-jitsu is so much better than it is because he's submitting C and D level fighters. I think Tsarukyan, I think his frame is going to help him here. You're going to try to armbar a guy who's 5'7". He doesn't even have arms. You want to try to guillotine a guy who's 5'7". He doesn't even have a neck. And his guillotine defense is gorgeous. I mean, I watched the Islam fight. I hadn't seen. I see the fight one time before a long time ago, and I watched it again today. I was bricked up for 15 minutes. I mean, how could you not be? The transitions in that fight, like that is a grappler's wet dream. That was unbelievable from both of them. And then you want to watch something more impressive, go watch the Davi Ramos fight. Davi Ramos is, oh my God, he's unbelievable. He is one of the best grapplers in the world. He flying freaking armbarred, who was it, Lucas Leite, who's another one of the greatest grapplers in the world. It was unbelievable. And his jiu-jitsu is not traditional, like, jiu-jitsu. He's aggressive. He's a takedown machine. He's a heavy top game. He's a mean son of a gun. And Arman said, guess what? I'm even meaner. And he dominated him. He took him down. He beat the hell out of him on the feet. Davi Ramos tried a guillotine. Whose guillotine you think is better? Is it Davi Ramos or is it Joel Alvarez? Is it the ADCC champion or is it Joel Alvarez who's got a black belt from Spain? Like, I'm not hating here. I think Joel's only chance is on the feet, and that's only because of his size. But I think he throws two strikes, and I think Armin's shooting underneath, and he is going to maul Joel Alvarez. I think we haven't seen Joel Alvarez in a third round when he has to wrestle. I think the weight cut is going to gas him. I think Tsarukyan's pressure is going to gas him. I think this is the biggest, easiest lock, and I don't think we're going to see Tsarukyan as a minus 200 or minus 250. Oh my God, until he fights for a title again or fights for a title. So to me, put him in everything. Bet him with your buddy, who's faster down the street, and then see if you can parlay with Tsarukyan. Do a little Armenia parlay, both of the Armins. Everything. I freaking love Armin here. I cannot believe the odds are this close, and I hope Twitter pumps up Alvarez anymore because they're obsessed with the height thing. They're just obsessed with size, and size won't matter when he's on his back.
Man, I mean, I don't think you're wrong in the winner, but man, I think you're a little aggressive in the domination, and I think
he's going to dominate him.
I think he's going to win, and he could even dominate him. But I think there's going to be some scary moments where Alvarez, I think he's going to look really good. I think he's going to look, whoa, like, man, you got to watch out. Like, I think and more so than just like a puncher's chance. I think when I talk about fight IQ, generally it's, I mean, of course, cardio withstanding. It's how's your cage wrestling? Do you jump to a guillotine when somebody shoots, or do you defend it and come up on top?
Which he does both of those
Which
things.
we'll get to. Do you, when you're on your back, do you lay on your back, or do you get back to your feet and this and that? Now,
which he does.
generally those things are fight IQ. But the other thing is, how do you win? And some people, like a Brian Ortega, you would probably say that his fight IQ, by the things that we talk about, is horrible, but he wins all of his fights. He loses until he wins. And that is something that is not everybody's fight IQ is the same, because not everybody has the same skill set. And you look at a lot of people like Brian Ortega, who gets beat up and gets beat up and gets taken down, and who does all of the stuff wrong until he wins. It's kind of a guy like Alvarez. It's like, yeah, he does all the stuff, quote unquote, wrong, but until he wins. And generally, it's like a Terrence McKinney. You're going to beat a lot of the lower level guys that way. You're not going to beat the higher level guys that way. So I think he knows. It's like, gosh, who was the kid? Really bad fighter, but he had that really good guillotine. Submitted everybody, long hair.
Cody McKenzie?
Cody McKenzie. That's a guy that you would say has horrible fight IQ, but was like 12-0 with all guillotines. Does he really have bad?
Paul Sass.
Yeah. Does he really have bad fight IQ, or does he just know how he's going to win? And so, yeah, he doesn't have bad fight IQ. He has a bad skill set. So you look at a guy like Alvarez. I don't think he has a bad fight IQ. I think he has bad wrestling. And I think he knows how he's going to win a fight, and that's getting people to shoot underneath him and locking up a guillotine. And I think he knows that. I think if he were missing those guillotines again and again and again and losing fights that way, now I think you say he has bad fight IQ. Right now, I say,
I wish that Alvarez fought like Ziam. If Alvarez fight like Ziam, we'd be having a way different conversation. If he had better cage wrestling, if he was a little harder to take down, if the second he hit the mat, he was trying to get his butt back up, we'd be having a way different conversation. And I think the really sad reality for a lot of people on Saturday is going to be, oh, I can't guillotine the guy that has no neck. And now he's on top of me, punching me in the face repeatedly. Armin can fight so hard for 3 rounds. Like we were talking about Carlos Hernandez pace, but think about the grappling exchanges that Armin has gone through in every fight that he's had. It is crazy. He beat Aubin Olivier Mercier. That's a good win. Like all of his wins have been phenomenal. Who's had a tougher 4 fights and looks so good? And he's like 24 years old, but he fights so hard for 4 rounds and like he makes it through. He's got really good cardio for how hard he fights. And I don't see Alvarez surviving that.
yeah, I don't either, but I think he's going to do well, and I think he's going to have moments. I think he's better than what you're giving him credit for, and I think he's gonna.
I think he's fine.
Yeah,
I don't think he wins this fight.
I like him. I like him. I think he's gonna do well. I don't think he's gonna beat Tsarukyan, and I think he's a good play, but I think he's a solid fighter. I think we have not seen the best of him. I think we're gonna see a much better version once he loses to Tsarukyan.
Yeah, hey, I totally agree with you. Matchup at hand, I think Alvarez is a fine fighter. I like his stand up the most out of anything. I think what he does, honestly, I know you're saying, he finishes it. I think it's bad jujitsu, to be honest. We always talk about what works, and it's rear naked chokes and that kind of stuff. Just me personally, that's my own thing. I hate jumping for guillotines, and I used to be the armbar guy. I haven't armbarred somebody in 5 years because now I come on top and I choke somebody from their back, right? I just think it's bad jujitsu. And I think we're about to see the levels to the game with Armin training with guys who are black belt world champions every day. It's like, okay, we'll see. We'll see.
All right, so the odds there. What are the odds? I'm looking. I'm looking. I'm looking. These are updated. Gosh, I can't even find them. Minus 240 plus 190. Do you think Armin gets a finish?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a mauling. It's going to be brutal.
Um, Besides the Christos Giagos fight, which was a last minute replacement, he has not had a finish.
It's okay. He's going to start now. He's going to start a streak.
Okay. That's what I was
He
curious.
fought freaking Davi Ramos, who's got a brick head and can wrestle and has world class jiu-jitsu. He fought Islam Makhachev, Olivier Abdelmalsamer, and freaking Frivola. Those are all veterans, tough guys. And he beat the hell out of Christos Giagos. So it's time. He's due.
All right. So next up, I think we have the people's main event. We've got Priscilla Cachoeira versus Ji Yeon Kim. And so I watched a lot of tape on this card, and I was getting to the last 3 fights. Okay, we generally go top up, bottom up. And then I got to this card and this fight, and I actually skipped it to go to. So I went all the way up to number 9. I'm on Tsarukyan and Alvarez. And then I got to this fight, and I don't know why. I was like, yeah, I'm skipping this. I'm going to Misha Cirkunov and Wellington Turman. And I was thinking to myself, what the hell are these guys doing as co-main event? They've lost like 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 out of the last one more fight than that. I'm like, what are these guys doing as co-main event? So I'm watching tape annoyed because I'm going, why are these guys co-main event? And why are Tsarukyan and Alvarez not co-frickin' main event? Build up the winner of that fight. build up the winner of Gregory Rodrigues, build up a solid undercard fight that we really want to see in the future. And then we have two guys fighting for their jobs. So we get to that fight, two guys fighting for their jobs. I get to that. And then I look at these two. And this was even worse, two people fighting for their jobs. And I really, really, really had a hard time giving a shit about this fight. And not because I hate either of them, but again, because it's so high up on the card, and I don't really see a reason why we're watching this. We saw Jillian Robertson just take, Priscilla down, maul her, and submit her. And then we have Kim, she is 9-4 and 2. Lost to McCann by decision, lost to Grasso by decision, beat Nadia Kasim, by body shots, lost to Shevchenko, and then she's got a couple of split decision losses. And I thought, what in the hell is going on here? I really don't care about this fight. I think we've got a grappling affair, and I'm wondering why are we watching this fight? Like, what is the purpose of this fight? Do you know?
Well, let me just say this: you're wrong on that, and that's how I know you didn't watch film. This is not a grappling affair
No,
at
I
all.
said
Not
it
even
wasn't going to be a
close.
grappling affair. I said it's not a
Oh,
grappling
okay,
affair. It's a
okay.
striking affair.
100%. Like
Yeah, like
Ji Long Kulim has 0 takedown attempts and 0% accuracy in the UFC. Priscilla is, man, I don't know whose takedown defense is worse, her or Alvarez. Like it is 1 and 2 right there. Do you want me to go in on this one? Because weirdly, that's what I'm here for, is to do the heavy
yeah,
lifting.
no, like I mean, it was just one of those things. Like I was just trying to find like why are we here? Why are we watching this? I mean, you have two strikers who are not going to shoot. I mean, all right. So
Do you even want to call them strikers?
I don't know, brawlers. Like I mean, you have two people who are just going to brawl, who have zero not only title implications but like ranking implications. Who are kind of on the chopping block, who are this high on the card. And I thought, what in the hell is going on here? Kim is going to brawl through the body, come upstairs. I think Priscilla is mildly more technical, will actually throw a kick. And I don't know what we're doing here.
I think it's actually the opposite. I think let me just get her name right because she is so frustrating to me. Ji
Young
Yeon
Kim.
Kim. Uh, I think she is by far more technical when she actually punches. But everybody has said this in every fight of hers, and it drives me crazy. Is first of all, she may be the slowest human alive. Her punches are so freaking slow. Like I thought I was watching a heavyweight. She is just so until she actually throws them. Then they're snappy and they're clean and they look good. And she's got good footwork and she moves well. But her chin it's one of the most horrific sights I've ever seen. Is just how far out her chin sticks when she throws her punches. And nobody misses. I mean, she's got a big head and people land on that thing and you just see it just boom, 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 boom. It is crazy to watch. And yet she's never been knocked out in the UFC. I cannot believe it. And weirdly enough, as bad as she is, right? She's shown 0 in the way of grappling. She looked, she had cardio problems in her last fight against Meatball Molly, but I can understand that because Meatball never stopped coming forward, didn't really give her a chance to breathe. Weirdly, I think Kim wins this fight. And I only say that because Priscilla, her strength is I just throw hard and I hit hard. But her cardio is horrible, even when she's the one dictating the pace of the fight. But she's not the one, she's not a Meatball Molly. She's not slipping and ripping and coming inside. She will stand on the outside with you and wait for you to come in and try to counter you and hit you with those big shots. I think I think her punches are so much wider. I just think Kim lands first. But honestly, just like that other girl fight we were talking about, I think this one is just like, this is such a low level fight. And I think Kim is the sharper striker, chin aside. Her punches are snappier, they're straighter. She's fast, kind of, when she moves. But I could easily see Priscilla just catching her, and finally that chin goes out. So to me, this is a big like. The way I would play this is the fight does not go the distance. I think somebody's going out. Priscilla will give up eventually, or she's going to knock out Kim. But that's how I would play this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're wrong. I think Priscilla's just left hook. She's almost, and I don't know where she trains, but she reminds me of the old shootbox camp. Left hook, right hook, left hook, right hook. Yeah,
Boxing.
just like swinging in power. And I think those are going to land in just, do they land enough before the cardio issues take over and then who's tired and who's again, this is the other fight, the other
Bad.
women's fight on the card. Like, how are we here? Like, I don't get why these two fighters are this high on the card. Are they matched up? Why match these two up together and let one of them fall out and be cut? Why not match them up against favorable opponents to build the other opponents? And that's what I wonder here is why aren't we, honestly, the other fight, Pascual and Nunes. I mean, you're not going to cut them both. I mean, Nunes is coming off a win. Pascual is a new signee. Why not set all four of them up to lose against people they want to build? I don't know why we're here. I don't know why we're doing this.
What's What's really crazy to me is that Jillian Robertson fight. Do you remember that she was choking Priscilla, and Priscilla's eye gouging her? And I thought to myself, like, "Ooh, she's gonna get cut," and she didn't get cut. Gets another fight, and not only does she get another fight, she gets a fight that she could win.
Yes.
I can't believe they're not matching her up against some killer like that's gonna just wreck her for a
I mean,
punishment. Like
against
they're
Tracy
paying her money
Cortez, like,
and a fight she could win.
yeah, let
Yeah,
Tracy take her down and choke her out. I don't get it.
gouge her eyes. Like
I don't get it. Don't gouge Tracy's eyes. Um, Honestly, all four of these girls should be put against people who they want to build. I don't know why we're here. I don't know why we're doing it. Kind of reminds me of the next fight. Gosh, Cirkunov and gosh, who the hell is he fighting? Wellington. Geez, Wellington Turman.
Wellington Turman. Can we head to this fight? I'm ready.
Let's do it. I'm over the last one. I guess our bets on the last one are just don't freaking touch it. Then we have Cirkunov and Wellington. This is another fight that really freaking grinds my gears. That this is this high on the card. These guys are losing most of their last few fights. They're not contenders. Why not feed them to people you want them? I mean, do you just want them to go? Like, are you just trying to eliminate people? What is the point of this fight? You've got two grapplers with okay wrestling and okay-ish striking against each other. And I mean, Misha Cirkunov looks like a old bodybuilder. You know those people you look at that are like 68 and then when they were 25, they were juiced up to the gills and were just ripped to shit. I mean, Cirkunov looks like a dude that's like lost 400 pounds of muscle and is like flabby and soggy and like his joints are no longer connected. Um, and Turman is a guy who's not a great striker, but will push forward and push you against the fence. And I, I mean, I just don't know why we're here. I don't know why we're doing it. This whole thing confuses me. Turman Turman's a little bit more aggressive earlier. I would say the jujitsu kind of cancels, the striking kind of cancels. I think the difference though is I think Cirkunov's actual wrestling is a little bit better than Turman's push you, grab you, lift you, dump you wrestling. And I think Cirkunov is going to have a little bit better trips. I think his actual wrestling is slightly better. I think his actual wrestling pedigree is slightly better. I think the least entertaining fight on the planet, I think Cirkunov gets a little bit better on the scrambles and I don't know, maybe finds a trip, maybe finds cage control, maybe finds a snap down into front cover. And I think his actual ability to wrestle scrambles into a win somehow. What's your thought on this fight? And it's neither of their stand up is bad. They're just not stand up fighters. They're not clean. Cirkunov, I think, is a little looser in his punches. Turman's a little bit stiffer in his punches. Turman is going to stiff punch you, push you to the cage. I mean, do you have a winner here?
Oh, oh yeah, easily. This is actually, man, this is the easiest spot. I've said that about 5 different times, but like this to me is like, man, this is an easy spot. I couldn't disagree with you more about Wellington Turman.
Really?
I love this kid. Oh, I love this kid. I love this kid. So he was out there in LA with us when Vanessa just fought, right? He was supposed to fight, and then something fell out with the fight. Who was he
He
supposed
was
to
supposed to
fight?
fight.
Um,
Um, yeah,
Hadolfo.
and yeah,
Wow. A fight I also think he would have won.
we
I
actually said
think
that on
this
the
kid
podcast. We
is
said that we thought his cage wrestling was going to wear Hidalgo out, and it would
it's
have been a
good.
striking match, and that he was going to end up out striking Hidalgo because he fades a little bit. Hidalgo fades a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I mean, let's look at Wellington. Okay, so he's got a split decision loss to Carl Robertson, who's a kickboxer. If I remember correctly, I thought that he won that fight. I thought that should have been his fight. He's aggressive. He pushes forward. I think his striking is actually way better than you're giving it credit for. I think
oh,
the kid just throws. He's game. He's in your face. Um, Now his next fight, he beat Marcus Perez, who's a veteran. He's got some good wins pre UFC. He beat Marcio Andre Jr. He lost to Andrew Sanchez, which Andrew's good, especially in the first round. He lost to Bruno Silva, who is, I think, a stud. I think Bruno Silva is going to be one of the top in the division. And he took Bruno down and was dominating him for a couple minutes until Bruno got up and, whatever. And the thing that was really impressive to me was his cage wrestling against Sam Alvey. Say what you want about Sam Alvey, but Sam Alvey's got good cage defense. Like he's got good defense on, and Wellington was taking him down. He just looks good to me. He just looks good. And with Misha here, I actually got to disagree on the wrestling part too. Not completely, but watching his fight against let me see, how old is he? He's 34. He looks every bit of 60.
and that's being
So
kind.
in his fight against yeah. Yeah, seriously. He lost his birth certificate. But his fight against Jotko was his first cut down to 185. And this is really where I can tell people that watch fight or like actually fight and know what the hell they're talking about and people who don't. Because, there was a lot of comments made about how good his cardio looked and how good he looked. But watch the way that Jotko fought. Jotko didn't do anything that would have pressed Misha's cardio. I mean, the grappling exchanges were very limited and they were only on Misha going for foot sweeps and trips. That's it. Other than that, it was a lot of Jocko circling around and except at the very end, if that's what you're talking
Yes.
about. Yeah, right at the where he took down Cirkunov. Yeah.
No,
I
Jotko. No, no,
just
no. Jotko got a single, dumped him. He came back up, took him back down in those scrambles. And Jotko is hard to take down, and he knows how to defend that takedown really well and scoot against the fence. And Serkinov was chain wrestling for days right there. And that is what I find the most
in the
impressive.
but that was in the third round. If I'm not mistaken,
Hmm.
that was in the third round. I think if that exchange happens in the first round, I think Misha is gassed as all hell. I think it's a wrap. And the one thing about Turman, and you can say whatever you want about Turman, his striking is serviceable. He's tough. He throws freaking hard. I think he's got a good chin. I know he's got a few knockouts, but that's by some power punchers. I think Turman's got a good chin. He's got a crazy cardio and crazy pace for the style that he fights, and he's willing to throw down. I think his fight IQ is actually really good. He's got Glover Teixeira in his corner. Like he's the mentoree of Glover Teixeira, who notoriously has great fight IQ. Um, to me, we're getting a 25-year-old against a 34-year-old guy who's cutting weight, has got a ton of first round knockout losses, who's already chinny at 205, now at 185. He already had cardio problems at 205, now at 185. I mean, to me, this is not even close. I'm taking the youth, fight IQ, punching power. I think he's got good jujitsu. I think Wellington checks all the boxes here. And in a 3-round fight for one opportunity to touch the chin, I think this is an easy one.
Man, I cannot get behind Turman because I think that I can't get behind his offensive wrestling. And I think Cirkunov knows what he is. And I'm not big on either of these guys. So just so you know, like I'm not like, oh, I'm not shouting from the rooftops over here about Cirkunov. Wellington is aggressive. He's in your face. He's swinging. He's not great swinging, and he's not great wrestling wise. Not that he's bad by any means, but I think Cirkunov knows what he's not good at, and that's striking. And I think Cirkunov knows that I think this is going to be a boring Jocko fight. I think Cirkunov is going to clinch, push the fight to the cage, try and nullify the aggressiveness of Turman, and I think try and find some chain wrestling late. Uh, I It wouldn't surprise me if Turman touched him early and knocked him out. But I think if he doesn't knock him out early, I think this is a boring cage battle, pushing against the fence, cage grinding scenario. Um, and with that, I think that Cirkunov is going to control where it is, being on the cage or pushing on the cage. And I just cannot, I don't know why I cannot get behind Turman. The one thing that I think Turman has right here is aggressiveness and youth. And I just am not big on him. I'm not big on Turman. I think he tries to bully the takedown up against the fence. I think he'll get it, and I think Cirkunov will pop back up. And then I think it's going to – I wouldn't be surprised for Turman to gas himself out, getting the takedown, Cirkunov popping up. I'm not huge on this fight either way. I can't believe either of these fighters are co-main eventing unless it's against a phenomenal fighter they're trying to build. I am leaning towards Cirkunov to get the win. And honestly, I think it's probably I think over a round and a half, over 2 rounds is the easy bet here. I don't think it's being finished early because I don't think these guys are power punchers. I don't think Turman throws hard, but I don't think he's good enough with his power to put Cirkunov out early.
This is gonna be your worst take of the week.
Hey man, bring it on, bring it on,
I
bring it
think
on.
this one's a wrap.
You think it's earlier than
Wellington
1 and a
first round
half?
KO, and I'm gonna. Oh yeah, I think this is a first round KO. Freaking what's it? Cirkunov was slow at 205, and he's got skills. His jiu-jitsu is actually to me excellent. But he was slow at 205. He's slower at 185. And Turman is a dog. He is not afraid to step in the pocket, throw down. He's going to touch that chin one time. He was already an old chinny guy before. And now we get like, I just think this, guys, I'm going to make you a lot of money. Check this out. Check this out. We're going to go Wellington Turman, Arman Tsarukyan, and Carlos Hernandez. Parlay those together, and then you guys can tip me on the back end once that hits. Thank you very much.
Got it. Man, I think Turman is going to swing. I don't know. I'm not impressed with Turman. I'm not impressed. I think the loser of this fight goes home.
All right, we'll see. We'll see.
All right, so we've got the main event. Makhachev, Bobby Green. You're going Bobby Green by flying armbar here? I think that's what you told me.
It's got to be something.
So
No,
here,
I'll keep this one short and oh, go ahead.
wait, hold on. So before we go, somebody messaged me and was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about throwing $500 on Bobby Green by finish." And I said, "Why don't you just send me that $500? It'd be better spent." So you guys know, I was looking at this earlier. I think it's since 2013, since he finished James Krause. However many fights it is, it's like 10, 12, 14 fights, whatever. 2 of those fights of Bobby Green's have finished inside the distance. One of those is a loss to Dustin Poirier. The other is a win to Ally Aquinta recently, right before he fought Hasbrat. Every other fight, win or loss, has been decision. I'm talking decisions against high-level guys. I'm talking decisions against Clay Guida. I mean, and everything in between. Bobby Green's not winning by stoppage. Like, I mean, unless he Masvidal's it and goes out there and just like flying kung fu pandas Makhachev. Give me your take on this. Just don't tell me it's Bobby Green by finish.
Well, that was actually my hot take for the week was Bobby Green by finish.
Not Turman
No,
by
I don't have
KO.
much. Yeah. I don't have much to say on this fight. I think Islam is awesome. Watching that, I've never actually watched Islam fight before. I made money on the Thiago Moises fight, but I've never watched him fight. I didn't watch that fight even. I just watched the Armin fight. And freaking Islam, he's good, man. Islam is super, super good. He's got 5 rounds to get a hold of Bobby Green, get him down, suffocate him, drag him into deep water, and he's probably going to submit him. I think this is a don't overthink it. I'm not going to say anything out of turn or out of bounds here. I think Islam is the clear winner. Bobby Green's got 2 weight cuts in what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and uh, everything's set up for Islam to win. He should win. It should be no problem. But I will say this. I think Bobby Green is a much tougher matchup than Beneil Dariush was, because I think Beneil would have given Islam the fight that he wanted. And I think he's better in all of the areas that fight would have taken place. And I think Bobby presents a really interesting, a really weird challenge for him. A guy that's going to talk trash in his face, and he moves really well and high volume. I could see Islam getting a little bit all over the place, but 5 rounds to get it done. Guys, don't overthink this one. It's Islam.
I said it earlier. Islam's wrestling is some of the best I've ever seen in MMA. Um, Gosh, it is unbelievable. His striking's good. It's gotten better. I mean, it's not world beater. You're not going, oh, Islam. Is going to go one punch KO people. His cardio is good. He does all the right things. He had one loss to, was it Adriano Martins years ago? Um, I think Bobby Green could upset this. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he will at all. But he could Masvidal some stuff. He could go out there and flying knee him. He could punch him. He could do stuff. The issue is he won't. And he won't because he doesn't go for the finish. He doesn't go out there for the kill. He rolls and he slides and he moves and he peppers and he this is any that. And if he would go out there and just go for the fences, I'm not saying he wins the fight, but hey, at least he's got a shot. But the way that he is going to win or could win any fight is he rolls and he's there and he's awkward and he finds his place and this and that. But we said this in the last fight. My knock on Bobby Green is that he doesn't go is and this we go back there. Look at the tape. We said this against Hasprat. Is my issue with Bobby Green is that sometimes he's just there. He's okay being there. He's just sparring. You can't tell, is he sparring? Is he trying to win a fight? Is he winning a round? He either wins or loses, and that's that. He doesn't try and steal around. He doesn't try and, oh, wow, I lost that last round. I need to win this round. He's just in there fighting. Win, lose, or draw, that's what happens. And I think that's with this fight. I think if he went out there and tried to win, tried to go win, start him earlier, win a round or something, we'd have something. But Islam, I think, is probably going to be a little awkward for a round. And I think Bobby Green, I think he's going to be cautious. I think Bobby Green's going to have a little bit of success early in round one. Not to say he's even going to hurt him, but I think he's going to throw Islam off his game and he's going to be weird and he's going to be awkward and Islam's got to be careful. And then I think in round two and around three, Islam just grabs Bobby Green and realizes, oh, I'm good here. And then shit gets ugly fast. Um, I called Islam to beat Dan Hooker. And from the mountaintops, from the rooftops, from outer space, I yelled over a round and a half because Hooker is that good. And Islam is not finishing people early. And he threw Dan Hooker down and submitted him in what, 2.5 minutes? I was
Oh my
like,
god.
holy shit. I mean, that popped a bunch of my parlays. And I had Islam winning in everything, but not that fast. If you're throwing Dan Hooker down and Kimuring him in half a round, I mean, you guys do not lose your money on Bobby Green here. Um, if you want to lose your money on an over or an under or a prop, lose your money. Bobby Green does not win this. I mean, he doesn't win it. He doesn't win it. He doesn't win it.
It sucks to say because I want him to win.
I love Bobby Green. And even if Bobby Green wins this, the right bet is Islam wins this. Like, I mean, this is 99 out of 100 times, you guys. if Bobby Green wins it, holy shit, I feel bad for everybody because you guys are going to lose all of your money on the next 500 bets because you're going to be betting these huge underdogs. Because this is like Bobby Green does not win this, and if he does, he still doesn't freaking win it. So don't bet
I,
Green here.
I just want to say something because this is so funny to me. Is like, all week we do, in the Discord, especially like me and 100 of my friends, we all, get together and we're typing all this stuff out on who's going to win and breaking down every aspect of every single fight. And there's some people that like track all the line movement and they're like, oh, look, 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 look. Guys, a bet only has value if it cashes. If it doesn't cash, it has zero value. I don't care if it started as a plus 700 and the line ended up at plus 165. If that person loses, that bet has zero value. It's zero. So you can't keep making these crazy bets, the bets that are not going to win. That has zero value. Winners have value. Tickets that cash are what's value. Stop tracking the line movement. Pick who's going to win. And that's how you should bet. Pick who's going to win.
Honestly,
Only bets that I like are the ones that won.
you guys, what you just said was a great example of us talking about Alvarez and Tsarukyan. You guys, we're arguing over how close the fight is, not who wins the fight. Tsarukyan wins that fight. Brandon and I are disagreeing on how close the fight is. That doesn't matter, you guys. Tsarukyan is who cashes the bet. And we're going, so if you guys are out there going, oh, well, Santino says he could throw this or he could look good and this is going to be a close fight and blah, blah, blah.
Anything can happen in a fight.
All of that. But even I'm saying, hey, look, I think it's a close fight. I think I think Alvarez is better than Brandon says. I think his fight IQ is great. I think Tsarukyan's amazing. Santino said it. But yeah, he also said Tsarukyan wins that fight. So none of that matters. The lines don't matter. How close the fight is doesn't matter. Nothing matters except for who wins at the end of the day. And with the Tsarukyan fight, Tsarukyan wins that fight. I think Alvarez is going to have a much better showing than what Brandon thinks. But we both think Tsarukyan is going to win that fight. It doesn't matter if we say, yeah, but so think about this. If Brandon and I decide that we're opposed to, like, I'm choosing Alvarez to win, he's choosing Tsarukyan to win, whatever. If hypothetically, if Brandon wins and I say, yeah, but it was a really close fight, right? Yeah, but he lost.
Means nothing.
Like, it doesn't mean anything, you guys. Who wins is all that matters. And is Bobby Green going to make it closer at moments? Yes. Is Bobby Green the most awkward freaking human on the planet minus Ryan Hall to fight? Yes. Is he going to win this fight? No. No. That's the end of it. No. I think Bobby Green's awesome. Love him. He's not winning this fight. That's a wrap.
And if you're one of those value bettors and you're like, well, Islam's unbettable, okay, then don't bet him. Sit out, watch it, enjoy the fight.
Yeah.
I get it.
Go bet on some other really good bets on this card. Freaking Hernandez at minus 130. I mean, get out of here. Wrong at I think what is he at plus 185? Something over there. I mean,
There's so many better
yeah,
dogs.
there are some
And
good.
don't you guys ever think of taking Gilmore? Don't you think of taking Gilmore? I don't care the value. Don't you think of taking Gilmore?
If there is one fighter on this card who has no shot of winning, it is Gilmore. I mean, honestly, is there a different fight?
Watch him win.
I mean, but honestly, if you had to not bet one fighter on this card, there's one fighter you're like, man, out of all the people on this fight on this card that have zero chance of
Nunes.
Nunes, you think she has less of a chance of winning than Gilmore?
No, 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 no. You're right. You're right. You're
Right?
right.
I mean,
I just meant like just one I don't want to trust.
no, nobody wants to trust Nunes, but if you had to bet and they're like, all right, your entire life savings is going on Nunes or Gilmore, you're putting all of it on Nunes, not on Gilmore, because Gilmore has no shot of winning. I mean, I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm not being a hater. Let's just be real. Like, don't bet Gilmore, you guys. Don't bet. If you don't want to bet Makhachev, don't bet Makhachev. But sure shit, don't bet Gilmore.
But it's value. All right, guys, that's enough on our soapbox.
That is it, man. The soapbox is fun. Check out the Patreon, like our show, subscribe to us. check us out on all the places you would check us out on, Instagram and Twitter and the metaverse and whatever. We're gonna buy a big plot in the middle of the metaverse for $2 billion when we win all of our money on Makhachev and Ramiz. So I think we're pretty on par with everything on this card. I think Turman and uh, Cirkunov, I think we disagree on, and I don't even know if I disagree. I like I said, I'm not huge on Turman here. I just think Cirkunov is going to grab him and hold him and foot sweep him and clinch and hang. And I don't know that he wins. I just don't think he gets starched as quickly as he should against a better, younger, athletic striker. Um, I think the Ryan Spans knock him out. I think the Bruno Silvas get the other side of it. I just don't know that Turman's the guy to be that guy. Anyway, I think that's everything. We'll see you guys later. Yeah, chat with you on Discord.
All right, thanks, guys. Peace.